Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, this was the network that was supposed to break the mold, do things different. It was all about that concept of a parallel economy, the right creating its own cultural space outside of the leftist-dominated entertainment and media sphere. But already, only a few years in, it seems as though things aren't going according to plan. Frankly, it seems like the Daily Wire is collapsing, falling apart. And the latest evidence of that comes as Jeremy Boring, that's Ben Shapiro's right-hand man, is now resigning as CEO of the company. And while they're trying to pass it off as just a routine change, just another minor executive shuffle, I'm really not buying it. I'm reading it as a major red flag that the company is likely imploding from the inside. At least that's what's being reported, supposedly from insider sources that Ian Carroll allegedly has connections to. Let me show you guys what's happening, what these supposed insider sources are saying, and then of course let's just talk about the Daily Wire in general. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so here's the initial exclusive report from Axios. Daily Wire co-CEO Jeremy Boring to step down. Jeremy Boring, the co-founder of the Daily Wire, is stepping down from his role as co-CEO to focus on creative projects for the company, he told staff in a memo obtained by Axios on Tuesday. Boring has been with the Daily Wire since its inception in 2015. He helped grow the outlet from a tiny news startup with $4.7 million in seed funding to a media giant valued north of $1 billion last year. And now here's the video from Ian Carroll that's really taking the internet by storm.
The Daily Wire is going bankrupt, allegedly, and Jeremy Boring is officially out as CEO. The self-proclaimed God King of the Daily Wire is at the heart of so many scandals. And yes, he is self-described as the God King. Email just went out today internally that he is stepping down, and now Axios is covering the story. We're about to get into stuff like canceled credit cards, lying to the press. As far as I can tell from my sources, even people inside of the Daily Wire only know part of the story, and they're all kind of getting played against each other. It's a whole mess. And the most important part of this mess is that the Daily Wire has a long history of treating their employees like shit. And so I've had numerous sources inside the Daily Wire for quite some time because everyone hates them, even their own people. That's not to mention the numerous sources outside of the Daily Wire that did not take the NDA money on the way out. And it all centers around the God King and his fucking massive ego and his lifelong desire to be a famous actor. He just couldn't help but try to turn the Daily Wire into a Hollywood movie studio and produce the Pendragon series. They're not letting Jeremy Boring back in the building right now, apparently. Jeremy Boring was 100% allegedly forced out, not a willing leave. And that's because this financial problem has been going on for years. They had recently had to table all projects and do a hiring freeze because there was no money in the bank. Brett Cooper was basically like their last profitable endeavor right now. Their election coverage during the 2024 election absolutely bombed. Based on the chatter on the, shall we say, wire, it sounds like there's no money in the bank, so to speak.
So according to him, the story is a whole lot deeper, and he's making the claim that allegedly the Daily Wire is going bankrupt. Now, of course, there's no evidence to corroborate that, but whether that bombshell claim is true or not, I think one thing is absolutely true, and that's that things aren't exactly going well at the Daily Wire. And clearly this is more than just a switch-up. I don't think it's a coincidence that Jeremy Boring is the first person to have to step down, considering he's been a little bit of a controversial figure, involved in a lot of public drama, this whole weird thing where he calls himself the God King. A lot of people would make the claim that he's brought a lot of negative attention to the network. And so the suggestion being made is that outside financial forces are being brought into the network as they're allegedly hitting rocky times, and this is the first act of damage control, getting rid of Jeremy Boring, forcing him out of that CEO position. And while of course that's just a theory, it's not confirmed, it wouldn't exactly surprise me. I wasn't surprised by this at all. I've felt like this for a while. It feels like the Daily Wire has been slowly crumbling for a while now. Feels like they've been on a downward spiral after what they did to Candace Owens, totally throwing her under the bus and refusing to engage with her fairly. Instead of addressing her arguments like mature people, they got into public beef with her, essentially smearing her as an anti-Semite for simply voicing her opinion and asking reasonable questions about the war in Israel. And of course, for saying Christ is king.
Obviously, the issue here is me saying Christ is king. It's totally me saying Christ is king that is problematic and is going to break the psyche of Christians if they don't realize that when I say it, it's an evil, even though I've never shouted the phrase Christ is king at a Jew in my life. But we're going to keep beating up this idea. We're going to keep pretending there's this boogeyman. That's just never happened. It just factually has never happened. And you're trying to conflate commentary on the internet to make it fetch, to make it seem as though it's happened. It never once took place. Okay. I say Christ is king because I know that Christ is king, and I know that Christ is truth, and I know that Christ is light. And I knew Now, like I knew then that attacks against Christ and those who don't stand up for him and allow this little chipping away at our faith to happen, I know that those attacks won't stand. A lie cannot defeat the truth.
That situation still personally rubs me the wrong way. I think it was cancel culture, plain and simple. The modern right has built an identity of prioritizing free thought over emotion and engaging in open debate rather than shutting people down. And to me, it feels like the Daily Wire, in the most crucial moments, failed that test miserably. And I think now they might be paying the price. Clearly, letting Candace Owens go was a catastrophic mistake. She was their top star, and I don't even think it was close, not even remotely close. Candace Owens is an absolute rock star who, in my view, outshined the entire network, and I think the way they treated her was frankly shameful and alienated a good chunk of their core audience base. Instead of engaging with her fairly, they were taking sly shots at her on social media and then pushed her out of the company. Then there was the whole Brett Cooper debacle, in my view, another blunder for the network. She was one of the fastest growing personalities in conservative media, exploding overnight to millions upon millions of views per month. She took that seat as the host of the comment section and turned the show into a powerhouse. And just like Candace, the Daily Wire let her go. Now, we don't know exactly what happened, but it's likely that Brett wanted more control of her own content and maybe a little bit more of a profit split. And instead of rewarding their most successful talent, they let her walk, then trying to replace her with another face, and the show totally collapsed. It feels almost as if the Daily Wire executives feel as though they were holding all the cards, they held all the power, that they made Brett Cooper and could easily replace her, but they were wrong, dead wrong. And that's being proven in both situations. Brett left the network and then immediately built her independent channel, and the growth on that channel, the amount of people that followed Brett to her independent venture, it's the kind of support that you rarely see. She was the face of that show. It wasn't the Daily Wire. And we saw the same thing with Candace Owens. There was some comments at one point that Candace Owens wouldn't be able to do her own thing without the power of the Daily Wire behind her. But look at her channel now. She's now producing some of the most bombshell, most viral content of her career. I guess their thought was that Brett Cooper and Candace Owens needed the Daily Wire, but I think the opposite might have been true. I think the Daily Wire needed Brett Cooper and Candace Owens. And that short-sightedness might cost this network a whole lot if it hasn't already. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that the network's over, it's going to collapse overnight. Clearly, they still have a thing going, but I think it's obvious they've hit some pretty hard times. They alienated their top talent. I think they treated some of their top stars unfairly. And really, I think they went down the route of every other big corporate network, trying to strong-arm their talent into fitting their agenda mold. Instead of allowing their talent to flourish and allowing the free flow of ideas, they clamped down, they engaged in cancel culture and petty public online drama, and that's really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.